This is the Moonlight Graham Show, a freewheeling conversation with the role players, the underdogs, and guys with flat-out great stories in sports.
Hello and welcome back to the Moonlight Graham Show. Once again, I am your host, Tim Flattery, and our Moonlighter this week on the show is Jordan Comadena. In the modern day of baseball, starters are going less innings each game. So what's that mean? The bullpens are getting more work than ever before. It seems like every game after the fifth or sixth inning, there's a new reliever coming into the game. We're seeing bullpens being overworked, more relievers each and every game. And you know who the moonlighter in this situation is? It's the bullpen catcher. The closers are getting a lot of attention. The relievers coming out of the bullpen throwing 100 miles an hour with 92 mile an hour sliders. These guys are getting a lot of attention, but somebody's got to warm each and every one of these relievers up, and that's the bullpen catcher. So Jordan Comadena, has a great baseball name, by the way, is the bullpen catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he is joining the Moonlight Graham Show this week to talk about his job as the bullpen catcher. What an interesting job in sports, right? It's got to be one of the most interesting jobs in sports. The guy wears a full Major League Baseball uniform every day, but he's not part of the roster. He's actually part of the coaching staff. And so he came on to our show to talk about what it's like to be in the bullpen, to warm up $1 million arms each and every day in the major leagues. Now, Jordan was a pretty good player in his own right. He and I actually played against each other back in our college days, and in the Northwoods League, which is a college summer league. Jordan played for the Madison Mallards, one of the best college summer league teams in the entire country out of Madison, Wisconsin. The Madison Mallards pull in 6,000 to 10,000 fans every night. It's one of the best atmospheres in summer baseball. Jordan played there for, I believe, 3 years. He also played Division I baseball at Purdue University over in Indiana. After his college career, he went on to the Houston Astros minor league system, where he played 3 years as a catcher in the Astros minor league system before catching on as the bullpen catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Jordan's been with the Pirates organization now for a couple of years, and he shares what it's like to strap on the gear and to have the thankless job of being a bullpen catcher and just warming people up for a living. Because one of the awesome things about baseball is life in the bullpen, right? We've seen it in great movies like Major League and Bull Durham. What happens in the bullpen? How do these guys that are just hanging out, waiting for the bullpen phone to ring, how do they spend their day? What's their routine like? What's it like hearing from kids each and every day? Can I have a ball? Can I have a ball? Can I have a ball? Signing autographs and going through that routine each and every day. So Jordan Comadena, he joins the show this week. He's got a great story, not only from his college days, how he got latched on in the Houston Astros organization, but also how he got hooked up with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's been a great bullpen catcher. He loves his job, and he's got a great perspective on the game. I think you guys are going to love this episode of the Moonlight Graham Show, folks. And as always, if you like what we're doing here on the show, make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps out the show. Also, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Let us know. Send us an email. What do you want to hear from us on the show? We love hearing from you guys each and every week. Also, support our sponsors, Ebbets.com and Ebbets Field Flannels. And, of course, Scissors and Scotch. If you guys are getting your hair cut this week, head over to Scissors and Scotch for all your male grooming needs. Enjoy the episode and have a happy 4th of July, Moonlighters. And before we get to our interview, I got to take just a minute to talk about Scissors and Scotch. A few years back, a guy on my rec basketball team showed up for a game with the best haircut anybody on our team had seen in a while. And before too long, our whole squad was getting our haircut at Scissors and Scotch. It's the best male grooming experience I've ever had. You can go there to get your hair cut, shaves, trims, waxes. Heck, you can even get your shoes shined at Scissors and Scotch. And then after you get all cleaned up, head over to their bar for a cold one, some coffee, whatever drink you need in their private men's lounge. Scissors and Scotch, it's the best male grooming experience every man needs. Check them out in Denver, Omaha, Oklahoma City, and Des Moines. So the last I remember of you, I was actually playing in the Frontier League, that independent league for Rockford Riverhawks. And I remember you had a tryout, and I think it was like Evansville, maybe, the Evansville Otters. And I remember you taking batting practice before we went out and hit.
Oh, yeah.
And then you must have caught on with Houston after that.
Yeah, that was the summer 2000.
That was 08 probably.
Because then I signed with Houston that winter, like late January 09 is when I signed with Houston.
And did you go to a tryout, or how'd you end up with Houston?
That's kind of a wild story as well. I ended up signing with Houston after, so the end of 2008 summer, the Mallards had their annual alumni game up in Madison. And it was like in August or something, end of the summer. And the alumni game that they put on there is a pretty big deal. I mean, it draws like 4,000 or 5,000 people for this thing. And there's guys that come back from various years in the teams. And then they also have like a bunch of former, old-time major league guys that play in the game as well. I mean, Danny Cox, Vida Blue, Blue Moon Odom, like Berkey Jenkins, like all these guys, Jimmy Wynn, all these guys are there, and any of them that can play in the game are playing in the game. So it's just kind of a mismatched roster and two teams, and they play, and we play a game. And so I went to that and played in the game, and I was by far the youngest person there, having just played there the summer before in 07 and just finished up at Purdue. And so I played in that game, and I ended up hitting the two doubles off the left field wall off of, I think one was off Vida Blue, and one was off, like seriously, and then one was off Blue Moon Odom. I mean, they're throwing like 60 miles an hour.
Right.
And I hammered two balls off the left center wall, whatever. And I played shortstop, which was kind of funny because that's, in my time playing for Madison, I was kind of a super utility guy. I hit leadoff, and I just played everywhere.
Right,
but
that's what I remember.
The only position that I never played besides pitcher, but of positions, I never played short. I had a start or played every other position on the field except short. And in this alumni game, I ended up playing shortstop and had a couple plays. I made it short and whatever. I mean, it was a fun afternoon or fun night and whatever. And so after the game, Jimmy Wynn comes up to me, and he's like a special assistant, I think. Still, he's got that title with Houston. Comes up to me after the game and just starts talking to me and asks me, why aren't you playing anywhere? And I laughed and told him, hey, like, I'd love to. I feel like I can. And I kind of explained to him how the summer went, and just nothing was working out for me in that regard. So he said, okay, well, let me see what I can do for you, basically. And all right, so I just thanked him and went on my way. And so apparently he talked to some people with Houston, and I think Houston then did some back checking on me and talked to, Vern and some people there with Madison and maybe some scouts that have seen some play up there, or I don't know. And then throughout the winter, I hadn't heard anything. And actually in the meantime, I'd signed to play with Gary Railcats in the American Association. And then, or late January, I think it was, rolled around, and I got a call from an Astros front office person, and they told me kind of how this all went about, and they wanted to sign me.
That's pretty cool. You go to Houston, and you were kind of a super utility guy, but you start your minor league career out as a catcher. And was it hard to learn how to become like a professional catcher after playing all over the field in college?
To be honest with you, not really. I caught my whole life up until college, really. So from a very young age, I always wanted to be a catcher. I always loved catching. I loved everything about it. I loved how involved you are in the game, the responsibility that you take in handling the pitching staff and just controlling the game. Through all my, little league and junior high and high school, I got to call all my own games, and I took pride in that. I loved that whole aspect of it, of just learning reading hitter swings and learning pitching staff and being able to try to help them and guide them. Always thought it was so cool and so much fun. And then went to college and was actually recruited to Purdue and went there as a catcher. But then in order to kind of get my bat in the lineup, was moved around a little bit and ended up actually playing predominantly in the outfield in college at Purdue. And then in summer, I really was like a super utility guy. I played everywhere. But I only probably caught, 10 to 12 games maybe in 4 years at Purdue. And
wow.
I wish I would have fought more. I really do. I wish I maybe would have, looking back, I wish I would have pushed more or kind of lobbied for myself to I want to catch, and I just kind of accepted, all right, I'm going to be an outfielder here and try to, become the best that I can be there. And obviously want to hit and I obviously want to play. So this is where it's best suited for the team or whatever, then that's what it's going to be. But, now looking back, I wish I would have been able to catch more just because it was always my first love in terms of position to play and everything. So when I signed with Houston, they kind of asked me, what do you want to do? Because they knew I had background in playing a little bit of everything. And I said, well, I want to. And at that point, too, I felt like, well, the best chance that I have of coming in here as a, free agent, senior sign type guy is if I can show them I can catch. I think that's my best chance of kind of sticking around
right.
here. That's the way I went with that. And I told him, I want to catch. So that was great. I mean, just being able to get back into the swing of things of catching every day. And there was maybe a little bit of an adjustment just back to, having to do that every day. But really, I felt like it was a very easy transition because it's always been part of kind of who I was as a baseball player and something that I always embraced and loved to do. So it was pretty easy.
Right. So now your role as the bullpen catcher. I think the bullpen catcher is such an interesting spot on the team because obviously you're so vital to the day-to-day operations of the team, right? The bullpen guy needs to be warming the pitchers up. There's more relievers now than ever before. You probably help out throwing batting practice. You're around the team, working out, doing everything that the team's doing. But at the same time, you're not on the active roster, right? You got a uniform, you're wearing a uniform, but you're not on the active roster. What's that like being on the team, but having no chance of ever playing?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, I'm part of the coaching staff technically, and it's the access that you have and just the involvement and everything that you have is really, really cool. Being a part of all the meetings and all the, the scouting advance stuff and part of just kind of going through all that information and dissecting the other team's lineup and how we're going to attack them, how the pitchers are going to attack them, and our game plan going into each series is really cool, and just all the information and all the time and effort and energy that goes into the preparation for every series is just really incredible.
So tell me what that's like when you're in the bullpen and you need to get a guy up in the sixth inning. How much prep work are you doing with that pitcher before he goes into the game as far as here's the lineup, here might be the 3 to 5 guys you might see, and here's some pitches that you are going to have ready when you enter the game?
Yeah, I mean, once the game starts, I mean, a lot of that stuff is done prior to the game in the afternoon. We'll go over all that information. All the guys will have access to that, and we'll review it all with them heading into the series. And then throughout the game, we've got, the notebook and a big tablet, iPad thing out there that has all the same information and video. And so guys are aware of what role they are, in terms of where they are in the pen and what point in the game they may be called upon to go in. And so they're aware of the lineup. They're aware of how they, as an individual, need to go in and attack and execute their pitches to do their job. So once the phone rings and somebody's name's called, it's just time to get loose, and
right.
it's go time. So they get up and depending on the urgency of the situation, sometimes it's quick and, they maybe only throw 10 to 12 pitches or something and they're good to go and they head in. And other times there's obviously some more time. But regardless, they're establishing their fastball, number one, getting themselves loose, and then they'll spin some secondary stuff. And make sure that's where they want it to be, and they go in the game. I mean, something that I've always, in the last few years, being around the relievers and, warming them up and just watching them work, is throughout the duration of such a long season, how efficient they are in being able to get loose to a point where they're ready to go in the game, and then their ability to bounce back and be able to be available on such a regular basis to go and compete. I think that's just such an incredible ability that these guys possess, because it's such a long year and there's so much wear and tear on the body, but to be able to show up every day and be able to take the ball and to have such an electric stuff and throw so hard day in and day out, to me is really incredible.
When you talk about wear and tear on the body, how hard is it on your knees as a 32-year-old guy to be squatting behind the dish catching pitches every night?
Well, I take pride in staying in good shape, and I work out just about every day and, try to stretch as much as I can. And I don't feel 32. I don't know if, you're supposed to feel a certain way, but I still feel pretty young.
Uh-huh.
I feel great. I don't have any kind of, knock on wood, any knee issues, never have really had any major injury, really of any sort. So I feel great. And I love just being able to be a part of things and to be able to catch these guys. It's so much fun. I mean, everybody's got, throughout baseball, just the quality of pitching that you see on both teams on a nightly basis is just incredible. How hard everybody throws, just the action and the sharpness on the secondary stuff, especially guys out of the bullpen. I mean, it's incredible.
You're working with 15, probably 12 to 20 pitchers over the course of a year, and you got to know every one of those guys' stuff, whether it be splitties or cutters, sliders. I mean, you're probably seeing sliders in the low 90s. Is that hard to catch at times?
It can be if they're not dialed in maybe with it on a particular night. But, you get used to it, really. I mean, sometimes you forget just how hard these guys are throwing because everybody throws so hard. You just kind of become accustomed to it. It is what it is. Stuff is excellent. And largely, they're really good with their control, and that's why they're major leaguers. They're able to, every once in a while, sure, somebody, something gets away from somebody. That happens. But largely, they're really good with the command of everything they've got, and they're consistent day in and day out. And it's a lot of fun to catch because the stuff is so good and it's so hard and it's so sharp. To have a seat behind the plate and catching it's really cool.
I mean, how often do you have the dream of one day, both Pittsburgh catchers for some reason get sick and they're out for the day and they need a guy, so you get put on the active roster because they don't have time to call a guy up from AAA, and so Jordan Comadena is the catcher for the Pirates. Do you have that dream often?
Well, the closest thing that will happen is I've had the opportunity to catch a couple sim games on the field, in the last couple of years, various guys, maybe coming back off the DL or something, and they're going to throw a couple innings on the field, and there's some hitters, in the box, and you're calling pitches, and you're kind of playing a little mini sim game in the afternoon. That's been really cool, just to be out on the field and catching a major league pitcher with some major league hitters in the box. And I'd be lying if I would tell you that wasn't, that's not really neat, because especially to do it on PNC. We just actually did one a couple weeks ago. So I mean, that's really neat. Knock on wood, we've been very healthy this year, and hope that can continue throughout the course of the year, and we don't have to really do any kind of roster stuff. We got a really good group here, and we're playing some really good baseball.
Of course. Hey, Jordan, both you and I both played in the Northwoods League. We know how fun those summers can be. On this podcast, we've had guys tell stories of dollar beer nights on the bullpen and sneaking beer down in the bullpen. I actually played in a minor league game where our whole bullpen took a shot of whiskey before the game. You don't have to name any names, but have you ever been in a bullpen or experienced a minor league atmosphere where some of those shenanigans go on in the bullpen?
I mean, honestly, no. I mean, you have, especially when you're on the road, fans will chirp at you and try to get you riled up maybe a little bit. But we've got a really close-knit, really good group of guys in our bullpen here, and we have fun. We joke, certainly, but at the same time, it's really businesslike, and everybody's always ready to take the ball and to go do their job.
What's your favorite bullpen
we try
game
not
to kill time?
You know what? The only thing that would maybe apply there is Stephen Brault is in our bullpen now, and him and I, he's a fellow Northwoods League guy. The start of each game, we'll come out, and once they're back out in the bullpen, we'll try to pick out a target, and we'll like drop kick our gum, try to play closest to wherever we picked out, and then we'll each drink a Red Bull, and we'll try to flip the can and stick the can up. So that pretty much takes care of the top of the first inning for us. Then outside of that, we kind of just hang out and get dialed in and watch our starter work and get ready to enjoy the rest of the night. So,
if you were playing tonight, what would your walk-up song be?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. It wouldn't be Funky Comadena. I'll tell you that. Even though that's my nickname, everybody, calls me that. I wouldn't use that. Everybody assumes or thinks that would be the song. I don't know. I'd have to really think about it. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Something not too aggressive, but something with a little bit of a bass, a little bit of energy in it, but nothing like I'm taking myself too seriously. Nothing, no heavy metal or
right.
Something mellow, but with some energy in it. Something like that.
Yeah. So, Jordan, you've been around the game quite a long time now. You've been bullpen catcher for a couple of years, played 3 years of minor league ball, played in the Northwoods League, Division I baseball. Have you ever been starstruck with anybody that you've met in the game?
No, not starstruck, but certainly appreciative and respectful and just really grateful to be able to be around the guys and the opponents that we play against, and to be able to watch the best players in the world go about their business, and to watch them work and to watch them perform on a day in and day out and nightly basis. I mean, as somebody who's, like you said, been around the game his whole life, and for somebody who appreciates baseball at its core and appreciates just the time and the sacrifice and the work and the effort and the energy that goes into performing at a high level, to be able to be around the game at its highest level and the best players in the world every day is really cool. To just be able to take a step back and watch these guys work and play, and had a chance to meet some various guys on other teams through other guys on our team or whatever. And it's always cool to be able to introduce yourself or say hello, but nothing where I've really been starstruck, but always thankful to be able to watch him play.
Now, in your time as the bullpen catcher, have you had to run out of the bullpen and participate in a brawl?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know about participate, but run out there. Oh yeah. I mean, if the bench is clear, you got to go. So it's, haven't done that this year yet, but last year, a couple times at home and on the road.
Wasn't Tony Watson start a brawl last year? He's an Iowa guy like myself, and I feel like last year for Pittsburgh, or maybe it was a couple years ago, he started a brawl by throwing at somebody.
I really, to be honest with you, can't remember. I do recall Colorado last year. We got into it with them a little bit. We had to clear the benches when we were out in Colorado. We had to run out there. It's one of those things. You got to go protect your guys. Things happen. So when the bench is clear, yeah, we're part of the team, and you got to go. Drop what you're doing and get out there to make sure that nothing escalates, or you're protecting your own. So it's always interesting when stuff like that happens.
I mean, it's probably interesting for you to be around millionaires every day. Granted, these guys are great at what they do, but there's certain guys on that team that might be making league minimum. There's other guys that are going to be making $20 million a year. You're part of the coaching staff, but you work hand in hand with these players on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of their day-to-day success, you are a part of that. You are a part of that equation. So to these guys that are making a ton of money, do they take care of you, whether it be take care of your meals or give you a tip at the end of the year or the end of the month, or how's that work out?
We have a really, really good group of guys here in this clubhouse, and they're grateful and appreciative of what you provide for them. And so, yeah, I mean, you run into them at breakfast or whatever, they'll pick up your breakfast or just little stuff like that. I mean, I certainly don't expect anything from them. I mean, I'm incredibly grateful and just every day excited to show up and to help whoever I can, however I can. And, if they feel like they want to give me a tip or anything, they want to throw something my way, I'll certainly, be grateful and appreciative and thankful for it. But, I don't expect anything, from them.
Right.
So it is what it is. And, I'm grateful, just like I said, to be here and to help them however I can. And because the greatest, for me, the greatest part of it is to see these guys succeed and for us to win. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to win baseball games, to win the division. Obviously that's the goal, make the playoffs and see what happens. So that's everybody's ultimate goal. And to be a part of them maximizing their workday, maximizing, their time, whether it's getting loose or in anything they're doing, however I can help them, that's what I take the most satisfaction in being able to help them. And then really rooting for them. I want them all. Anybody that comes through to be their best, do their best, succeed, have a great experience here with the Pirates. So
that's great.
If I can do that, then I'm doing my job and everything will take care of itself.
Who's the toughest guy to catch?
I don't know if I'd say any of them are the toughest to catch. They all are pretty dialed in with their command, with their, I'd say maybe the most fun to catch just in terms of their stuff just being electric. Felipe Vasquez, our closer, stuff is just, really good. He throws really hard. His off-speed stuff is just exceptional. Tyler Glasnow, a young right-handed pitcher we've got in our bullpen, throws super hard, has just incredible stuff. I mean, all of them, really. I mean, my dad always jokes when he comes to games or watches, everybody that runs out of that bullpen is just a clone of them, one after the next. They're all about the same size. They're all, 95 to 97 with a nasty slider or breaking ball.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. I mean, they're just a lot of fun to catch and to watch throw.
Are there any guys that are really bad in the bullpen but great on the game mound, or the other way around, really good in the bullpen but can't seem to figure out a certain pitch on the game mound?
Some guys warm up with different, levels of intensity. Some guys are able to throw, not max effort in the bullpen. They can throw, maybe 70, 80%, and that's enough to get them to where they need to be. And then other guys are more full tilt, where it's in the bullpen and it's just letting it rip. Game, once they're loose, it's game speed cranked up, and that's what they need to do to get loose. So whatever they need to do, everybody's a little bit different in that regard. And so that's always interesting to kind of see how, and we learn, what guys need and how they go about getting loose. And so, yeah, some guys are a little bit different, but once they leave the bullpen, they're all in the same spot. They're ready to go compete. They're ready to go let it rip once they get on the game mound.
Well, hey, Jordan, the way we end every episode here on the Moonlight Graham Show is with the 5 big questions. And our first question is, who is your all-time favorite teammate?
You know what? I might go with Jose Altuve.
Ooh.
From Houston. Him or Dallas Keuchel. Those two. Really enjoyed both of those guys and have loved being able to, continue obviously following their careers. Both of them are just exceptional major league players and have obviously done very well for themselves.
Do you still keep in contact with those guys?
I do, yeah. And it was really cool to be able to see them in 2016. The Astros came here. So it was really good to see them and texted, I still have Dallas' number and talked to him briefly a little bit last year and, they were making their run. But yeah, I have kept in touch with them a little bit. And they were both great guys, great teammates, great guys to be around, always made you laugh, always in, in a good mood. And so those two for sure, those would be my two.
What's one moment that reminds you of everything that you love about the game of baseball?
Every road trip we go on, the first thing I do when I get to the park at a new stadium is I'll go up to the upper deck on the road park. I'll go up to the upper deck and I'll take like a panoramic shot of the ballpark. And it's just as a kid, you go to a major league game and, you walk out of the tunnel, like you're going to your seat, and you see the field for the first time. Even if you've seen the field 100 times, you walk out of the tunnel and the concourse to your seat, and you see the field, and it's just perfect. Everything about it, it's perfect. And I'll go up to the upper deck and I'll take a panoramic shot of the ballpark, and it's perfect everywhere you go. I mean, it's the major leagues. It's a major league baseball stadium, and that never gets old. And it's the height of the game, And so I do that every trip, and I make a postcard out of it, and I send a picture of that wherever we were at, that team's mascot. I send it to my daughter. And she's big into mascots, so I always send her a picture of the park and of the stadium and the mascot. But I would definitely say that that never gets old, and just seeing that view wherever you're at is always awesome.
What's your favorite Northwoods League story?
Whenever anybody asks me about the Northwoods League or being a part of that or my time in Madison, I always can't say enough about just the atmosphere at the duck pond. I mean, it's like nothing else in that league. To be able to, as a college kid, going up there, play in front of 6,000 or 7,000 people every night, and just the show that's put on every night by the Mallards is really awesome. And it was something that I'll always remember. And to be able to have had the success that I had up there, the CJ, who was the manager for my 3 years, and just the other coaches that we had there, was always just, forever grateful to them for, first of all, letting me, taking a chance on me as a freshman coming up there, and then to be able to go back 2 more years and play 3 years there, and to be able to do the things I was able to do up there, and to have my number retired by the Mallards, just, really awesome. And those 3 summers I'll never forget those 3 summers.
What are you most proud of in your life?
From a professional side, I've had kind of a roundabout way of getting everywhere I've gotten, whether it was going from high school to college and not really being heavily recruited, and basically going to Purdue as a preferred walk-on, and then, earning scholarship money and earning playing time. And by the end of my time there being a starter and all that, to going undrafted and finding my way into affiliated baseball and being able to really maximize opportunity that I had with the Astros. I mean, that I wish I could have played longer, certainly, but for the time that I was there, I think I made an impact on people, and I did everything that I could every day to do my job to the best of my ability, and then to finding my way here to the Pirates. So I think just perseverance, really, in a baseball sense, to be able to show up, to work as hard as I can, to be professional and ready to work every day. I'm always ready to work. I'm always excited to come to the park. So I would say, that just that perseverance.
Final question here, Jordan. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Probably from my dad, and he would tell me this all the way back to junior high, when, you're first kind of going out for a team, and there's cuts, and then, 7th grade and 8th grade. And as a 7th grader, I played on the 8th grade team. As a freshman in high school, I played varsity. So I played varsity for 4 years in high school. But he would always tell me, when tryouts would come and practice would start, and play like you got to make the team and work like you've got to make the team, and that idea of showing up every day, setting an example with your work ethic, with your attitude, and don't let anybody outwork you. And that was something that he always told me, and that it instilled in me at a young age. And I think it's great advice. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Go like you got to make the team. And I think that's something that I still carry to this day to bring, to these pitchers and anybody that I'm working with here with the Pirates. Is I want every day, I want to give them my best. I want to provide them with the best work experience that I can and make sure that they're getting the most out of me. So I think that's something that goes back all the way to, when I was 12 years old or something, and as a young kid.
That's great, man. It's great to get caught up. It's great to share old Northwoods League stories, and it's fun to see you doing so well, a guy that I used to play against back in the day. So congrats on all of your success. Good luck to the Pirates this year, and thanks for coming on the show.
All right. Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for having me. It was a great time.
All right. Thanks, Jordan, and good luck tonight. Howdy, Moonlighters. We have to talk about our new sponsor, our new partner, Ebbets Field Flannels. This is a company that started back in the 80s when the owner wanted to start recreating old vintage wool baseball uniforms. And over the past 30-plus years, they have grown into a company that makes some of the coolest sporting good merchandise out there today. Hats, shirts, vintage baseball jerseys, you name it, they make it, and some of the best sporting goods merchandise you're going to find today. Head over to Ebbets.com, type in the promo code Moonlight10 to let them know that we sent you and to get 10% off your purchase. And I think you're going to love rocking some of the most unique and best merchandise out there today. Head over to Ebbets.com, type in the promo code Moonlight10, Ebbets Field Flannels. Tell them Moonlight Graham sent you. Thanks for sticking around, Moonlighters, and welcome to our closing segment, Into the Cornfield. And this week on Into the Cornfield, we got to talk about the Moonlight Challenge. Of course, we're going to talk about last week's results, but we got to announce the challenge for this week as well. So on Sunday night, in preparation for this week's episode with Jordan Comadena, I sent Jordan a text and I said, hey, do you have any ideas for this week's Moonlight Challenge? And he said, how about most push-ups that you can do consecutively? So that's it. How many push-ups can you do without taking a break is this week's Moonlight Challenge, sent to you by this week's Moonlighter himself, Jordan Comadena. I'm hoping Jordan participates in the Moonlight Challenge to see how many push-ups he can do. And it'd be really fun if some of the Pittsburgh Pirates actually got in on the Moonlight Challenge as well. So this week's Moonlight Challenge, send us a video, send us a picture of yourself doing push-ups. How many push-ups can you do consecutively? The winner of the challenge, of course, will get a Moonlight Graham Show shirt. So most push-ups you can do this week, winner gets a shirt. Over the 4th of July, I know everybody's going to be taking a little bit of time off with the holiday. Take some time, do some push-ups, send us your score. All right, that's this week's challenge. Last week's challenge, of course, was who could do the longest plank. Who could hold the longest plank? And folks, I got to be honest, we had some times that were way better than I expected for our plank times to be. My Uncle Terry, first of all, my fiance Tori went for like 4 minutes and 23 seconds to set the bar early on in the week. I didn't know if anybody would come close to that time. 4:23 is a pretty good plank time. Then my Uncle Terry, who's 63 years old, saw the challenge and he said, heck, I think I can hold a plank for 10 minutes. This isn't hard. So then Terry does it. He stopped at 5 minutes. But he felt like he could go a little longer, but he stopped at 5 minutes, which was so impressive for a guy that was 63 years old. But then, folks, the Stopulus brothers, Joe Stopulus and Tim Stopulus, both listeners of the podcast, they get on the Moonlight Challenge and they start battling out between the two of them. So my Uncle Terry had the winning time at 5 minutes as we were going into the weekend, and then Joe Stopulus went for like 5:15. Tim Stopulus went for 5:23. Then Joe Stopulus went and broke his own time, went for 7:15. And then Tim Stopulus does it again for 8 minutes and 10 seconds, which was the winning time in last week's Moonlight Challenge. So Tim Stopulus is the Moonlight Challenge champion from last week, doing a plank for 8 minutes and 10 seconds after a little friendly competition with his brother Joe. We love to see the competition come to the forefront here in the Moonlight Challenge. We hope that the same type of involvement will come this week as our challenges, most push-ups that you can do. As always, folks, thank you for listening to the show. As always, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Make sure to follow the show on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well. We love hearing from you guys each and every week. And as always, have a happy 4th of July and celebrate this great country that we live in.
This is the Moonlight Graham Show, a freewheeling conversation with the role players, the underdogs, and guys with flat-out great stories in sports.
Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of the Moonlight Graham Show. A special thanks goes out to Brian Sandvig, who does all the finishing and production of our episodes, Brendan Gargano, who does all of our design work and cover art, Tommy Griffin, who's in studio so often with us and helps us out on social media, and of course, my brothers, Andy and Neil, who do so much with each episode and helping to book guests and making this show happen. So, but most of all, thanks to you, the fans, the Moonlighters out there who listen each and every week, and a special thanks to our sponsors, Scissors and Scotch and Ebbets Field Flannel. And as a reminder, head over to ebbets.com, type in the promo code Moonlight10, and get 10% off your next purchase at ebbets.com.